preparing to live stream, and we are live. This is the Chit Chat Money Investing Power Hour. I am Ryan Henderson. I'm joined by Brett Schaefer. I gotta silence this real quick. And we are live at, it is 12:24 on the West Coast, but 3:24 on the East Coast. We typically do these at 12, so I apologize for the delay.
We had a power outage, so
we did have a power outage, so not our fault. Hopefully our few listeners or our few viewers that watch us live are still sticking around. And if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. What do you have this week? Anything? Well, maybe I should introduce the show. We riff on anything financial markets. I actually talked with a listener or friend of the show last week, and he said he really enjoys this type of episode because we are more candid and honest, even if it's sometimes brutally honest. So we're going to try to be extra edgy today.
Okay. No promises. Well, TikTok was reportedly the FCC wants to ban it, right?
So
and then
every advertising company is saved,
I guess. Well, not advertising company, every advertising platform in the United States. And then I saw there's been a bunch of stuff in crypto, which seems to be totally blowing up. Although the Bitcoin price, I don't know what's connected and what's not, but the Bitcoin price isn't in too bad of shape, but there seems to be a lot of blowing up. Well, it's below 19,000. So.
Oh, it is. It's back down below. It's in the teens. And yeah. Michael Saylor bought more.
Yeah. Well, what do you expect?
All right, wait, hold on. There was a question that was posed this morning. Is he an idiot, which I know is a little harsh, or is there a way that he comes out of this making a bunch of money for himself? Or both?
Yeah, it's definitely both. He's definitely going to make a lot of money. I think it hasn't been his kind of personal piggy bank since the dot-com bubble. But who knows? It could totally blow up. But I mean, how is it not going to blow up? I mean, come on. Levered up to buy some magic beans, but it's such a weird situation. I don't even know what to think about it.
How could you live life like that? Like knowing at any moment you could get, I mean, he knows when he would get it, but living life so close to the edge, like with that margin call, like he can't, I guess he can always file company bankruptcy and be fine himself. I'm sure he ends up rich out of this somehow, but I don't know. I could never fly that close to the sun.
Yeah, he is. Seeing any clips of him, he's an interesting character for sure. He is dedicated. He thinks of it in almost religious kind of religious, right? You know what I mean? Like it's like it's not necessarily religious, but
he says in Bitcoin we trust, very similar to the common line, in God we trust.
Exactly.
I believe that's on all the dollar bills.
Yeah, but what did you think of the did you see the FCC write the letter asking Google and Apple to take TikTok off the app stores?
I didn't read the letter, but I saw the news. Did you read the letter?
I did. It basically was what people were tweeting about. He just said that I don't know. This wasn't the head commissioner. It seemed like it was just a deputy, but yeah, he was just saying that there's a lot of evidence that what TikTok says, that all the data in non-Chinese places stays, localized, is not true, and that there's a lot of evidence that there's a direct, access for the CCP and blah, 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 all that stuff. And that violates a lot of Google and Apple's policies and should probably be banned because of it. A lot of people and maybe it's surprising, or maybe this is just because I have a way different idea about TikTok than a lot of other people. A lot of like, I don't know, just maybe it's just Twitter people, but think of it as they kind of equivocate, or why am I not saying the right word? Like they compare it to, Facebook and Google and whatever, and all the other social media companies, and say, well, TikTok's doing just what these other social media companies are doing, and it's from China. And I kind of think, well, yeah, that's kind of why, like, two reasons. One, the CCP has basically direct access to almost all the large companies, to nudge them to do what they want, blah 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 blah. There's a lot of evidence of that. And two, China banned all US apps, so it seems a bit unfair, or not all US apps, but the majority, right? Majority of these large ones. So it seems a bit unfair to just let their, not state-sponsored product, but their, Facebook of China kind of deal. If you know what I'm saying, does that make sense? Allow them to operate willy-nilly in the Western world, while we can't operate.
And Google's down there, isn't it?
Yeah, I am 95% sure that it is banned. Although there was reports they were working on a Chinese-based one, but I'm sure that is scrapped now, given the relationships have between the two countries are way farther apart than they were like 5 years ago.
All right. Well, that leads into something I wanted to talk about, even though I know we're not supposed to come prepared with anything.
Right. Okay.
I read sort of a friend of the show, a friend of mine, writes this newsletter called the Coffee Can Portfolio. Kind of interesting. He talks a lot about macro, and he listed a whole bunch of, in this newsletter, he lists a whole bunch of stuff that a whole bunch of factors contributing to, like, the labor shortage, the supply chain, price inflation, like all the different factors. And basically, I'm gonna name them to you, and you tell me whether you think it's temporary or here to stay.
Oh wow, this sounds like such an easy game.
Okay. China lockdown due to the surge in COVID cases.
You mean what's
Is
like
that temporary or here to stay?
The certain one, or like just perpetually having new ones coming down the line? Is that what he means?
Sure. Let's say like perpetual lockdown.
Well, not like different ones pop up. You mean like Shanghai might be locked down in 2020, late 2023. Well, given their policy of no COVID, zero COVID, whatever policy through 2027 that they just outlined and reaffirmed, I will say that will continue in all likelihood.
Semiconductor shortages.
Temporary. Caveat, if we get another crypto bubble, I want to revise my opinion. But it seems, I mean, who's a good fault? Who is it? Take him, reporter for Bloomberg, has done a lot of work on how, or not work. He's kind of just made this Twitter thread, which I'm sure is accumulating to some good work on it. That what are they? GPU prices. A lot of the stuff is coming down in the secondhand markets. So I think supply is opening up, but that is only a small part of the market. So maybe some of those automotive stuff, whatever, it won't be fixed, but we'll see.
So if Bitcoin hits $10, you think the chip shortage is over?
That would be helpful. That would for sure. If there was no demand from crypto for semiconductors, that's clearly helpful, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it has to be. All right. Another one. Early retirees due to the wealth effect. I think you can probably answer this one. It's sort of hindsight.
Yeah, that one's easy. Temporary, both crypto and stock market, and housing price. Well, housing prices we'll know within the next year. But I guess what we talked about last week, still firmly in the camp that housing prices are totally unsustainable given the mortgage rates. But yeah, the wealth effect.
All right.
probably over. Well, or it'll be, because I guess it's like a spectrum. It'll be way lower on the spectrum.
Okay. Unvaccinated employees quitting due to vaccine mandates.
Oh, I kind of forgot about that.
I
Sort
mean, I
of.
don't know if that's still going on, but
In Major League well, not Major League Baseball, but the Blue Jays have an advantage because in Canada you have to be vaxxed, and some players on the teams can't go across the border, so they have an advantage when the Blue Jays are playing in Toronto. That's besides the point. I didn't even know this was still a headwind or what, an inflationary thing. I mean, that's got to end, right? All those things. I mean, we live in a pretty, area that was pretty strict about COVID. That stuff seems to be ending, right?
yeah. And there's been apparently a big wave of COVID cases, and I haven't seen any policies really change. We didn't go back to what we were at.
Yeah.
Is there? So we'll say that one's temporary then.
There's no. It seems like all the government officials in the United States, or the vast majority, have forgotten, or not forgotten, decided that the juice isn't worth the squeeze anymore. China is definitely a big concern for COVID related stuff.
What about trade war with China?
Temporary. That is all those questions I've been answering with maybe I sound confident in some of them. They're just guesses. This one, I have no clue. Who knows? I mean, it comes down to who's in office in all the different offices in the United States. Is Xi gets reelected or not reelected, quote unquote reelected? Yeah, right. I mean, who knows?
All right, underinvestment in like scarce resources, so oil production facilities, natural gas pipelines. That underinvestment, do you think that continues or will be cured?
This is another impossible question because there's so many variables, but it cannot be cured within a short time period. It's got to be at least multi-year from what I've read. So what's your definition of temporary?
2 years or less.
I mean, we could, if the definition of that being solved is oil prices come down, then I way am unsure. But if oil prices just come down from demand destruction, it's so hard to answer. I mean, who knows? We could start ramping up nuclear. We could start doing a whole host of things. But given like the long-term nature of a lot of how long it takes to build up the stuff we're talking about here, it can't be solved within a year. So I want to say past all that one, but I would say not temporary.
Oof, that's devastating.
I don't know. I could totally be wrong. I have no idea. That's such a hard question. There's so many variables at play.
We got a question. I think
is that all of them?
And those are some.
Oh, it's Alex.
But I think we got a question from Alex, and I'll say I loved your Bumble write-up this week. If it's the Alex I'm thinking of, and it probably is. He says, if we can pitch questions in regards to the last convo, if the U.S. takes real action against TikTok, are you comfortable owning Starbucks, Nike long-term, or ultimately face significant pressure on their China biz in retaliation?
Great question. Thanks, Alex. Go check out his stuff at the Science of Hitting. We've had him on the show before. Do you want to answer that one? I think that's a tough one. That's a tough one as well.
I'll let you go first while I think of my answer.
I am not, well, let me see. I am discouraged from owning Nike and Starbucks because of the China situation. And that's why I'm also discouraged from owning Apple. What's the other big one? Like Costco, although Costco's only a small amount. There's a few others. There's a few other companies, LVMH maybe, stuff like that. And I guess if there was real action against TikTok and there's could be a sort of an escalating thing going on, yeah, I would be nervous about owning them unless I could get a good discount, because those are just such solid brands in the Western world. So I feel like if you could get nice, if you could get a good thesis going, or not a good thesis, if you could have a nice pitch or a good, the valuation looked good, ex China, which right now with both those companies likely it doesn't, although I don't follow them too closely, I would get, I would not be tempted to own them at all. Does that make sense? I feel like I tried to answer it without answering.
I haven't followed Nike that closely, and I kind of, I guess I could say I followed Starbucks just because I read Alex's write up on them, and Howard Schultz, I believe, said he thinks they will have more stores in China long term than the US.
Yeah, so, I didn't like that. I did not like that. Just
that would be extremely discouraging.
I mean, yes, there's the opportunity there. If it just feels like you're adding more risk, if you get it right, you kind of agree with me. Like things could work out fine, totally. And Starbucks could have a huge business in China, and shareholders could do quite well. But
it's still always like
it's looming, yeah.
In China, like that business is still always over there.
Yeah, and I saw something this week that all foreign companies now have to set up some sort of separate bank. Gosh, I didn't read this, so this could totally be wrong, but they had to set up even another sort of bank account or something with the CCP or something like that. So it makes me, skittish.
Yeah, that's probably right. I'd say I have probably a similar take. And in regards to Starbucks, if you had to bet, I'm sort of, I've grown like less interested in Starbucks as of late, and there's been part of like the union stuff.
Good point.
Kind of weird. Probably doesn't help them, but also they're reformatting their stores to be more accommodative to like this new style of order, and a lot of pickup and less like sit in. And I feel like that kind of erodes the value that Starbucks has. Like, I think part of Starbucks's value is that it's like this experience beyond just the coffee. And if it's just like this giant like drive-through, is it that much better than another drive-through?
Yeah, interesting point. Yeah. I don't know. I never understood Starbucks, but the lines are still long.
Maybe that's just the drive-through lines because no one's in stores anymore.
Good point. That's a good point.
Although I haven't checked comp store sales, so maybe they're up and I'm wrong.
No, the business looks healthy-ish. Yeah, I have a hard time getting.
Baristas don't like it. There's outrage from baristas.
Yeah, well, that was in Alex's write-up. Yeah, it feels like there's easier places to play. I mean, it's a quality business. Here's one that makes me a bit nervous, is that Schultz can't seem to set up a culture where it can be run effectively after he's gone. So
yeah,
that's concerning for long-term shareholders.
He's always got to come in and play hero.
Yeah.
He also sold the Sonics. So
yeah, so
he's dead to us forever.
Exactly.
Never on Starbucks now.
I'm biased against him. I do not like him.
I read, I think it was in Saudi America, that he was like, I would not have sold if I knew they were going to Oklahoma. And he said he was just selling it to a different owner, but he thought it was going to stay in Seattle. I don't know if I buy that.
Yeah, that's wrong. That's definitely a lie, but that's not That's Seattle sports
All
talk.
right, so
Let's go to
never,
investing.
definitely never owning Starbucks on that. What about Nike? Have you kept up with Nike at all?
Yeah, I mean, when we did a show on Lululemon, I kind of looked at them just because they're one of the largest competitors. I was looking at the younger, there was a great, who does it? It was one of the investment banks does the teen survey every half year, I think, maybe every quarter. And it's basically people under 18 or people under 21. And it's just looking at what's your favorite brand or company or items across a variety of different things like food, apparel, um, electronics, blah, blah, blah. And Nike dominates for the most liked across both. Well, what men higher, which makes sense, but women, or I guess teenage girls, you know, Lululemon as expected is higher, but Nike holds that quote unquote market share of likeness, and it's quite high. They were the most distinctive, if you kind of get what I mean, like separation between one and two across all of the different things. So like, what was number? I think the top three for food was Starbucks, McDonald's, Chipotle. Like they were pretty tight, but Nike and apparel was just crushed everyone. However,
What are the odds of an Under Armour comeback?
I don't think that's the biggest threat here. Lululemon's a decent threat, although they do serve slightly different markets for a lot of their products. Jordan's a great brand. They locked up a lot of the good athletes. There's still some China risk though, and that's tough. Here's the I think apparel is a little even tougher in China because I read a story about how H&M, oh gosh, was it H&M?
I think it is.
Yeah, they had a great business in China and then they made some mistake and magically a year or two later, no one was buying their products. And that seems like just a terrible risk.
Yeah.
That you don't know, you can't quantify, you can't. It's not a risk of like permanent loss of capital because these businesses don't have 100% of their businesses in China, but it's a risk that for whatever, like, I mean, if they can just convince people to not buy H&M from however they did it, they could do that to your company as well. At least that's my big concern.
So what do you do? Let's say you're running Starbucks. I don't know when they started in China, 15 years ago.
Oh man, it's impossible to operate. You have to keep going.
You've saturated the US and North America. I don't know if they have. I think they've still grown store count pretty quickly, even in the US. Not quickly, but a decent amount. Would you go to China or no?
I don't think it's a two-way door. Are you saying 15 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, let's say you're a business like Starbucks today. You saturated the rest of the world. Do you try to enter China?
That's such a hard question.
It's it is an enormous market.
It's such a hard, it's an impossible question. I would much rather.
I can't fault them. You can't fault them for going after China, but it does, if that's baked into the valuation today.
Yeah,
you're less likely to become a shareholder.
That's what you're saying. For sure. And I think a lot of people, this is not some hot take at all.
No, it's not. Did you listen to the Chris Bloomstrand Berkshire interview?
No, I did not. I saw it. I obviously did I already know he did a fantastic job. I have read too much, listened to too much about Berkshire. I know the business too well, and I'm never going to own it. So I'll never say that. But I don't need more. I don't need more. I've heard that story 100 times. I'm sure it was fantastic. He does the best work on Berkshire, but no, I did not listen. I'm sorry.
Now, Well, it's worth the listen anyways, but
I disagree. I haven't listened, but I disagree. I've listened to this stuff 100 times. I want to learn about other
I mean,
companies.
it's not just
Sorry.
about Berkshire. He's talking about like the dynamics of being a holding company and how certain or an insurance business
I
beyond Berkshire, like the disadvantages. It's worth the listen. So having listened, yes, I knew what Berkshire
well,
did
okay,
going in, but
fair. If you haven't heard that stuff before, but as someone who's listened to that same spiel that you just described 100 times, I'm not interested.
you're gonna listen one day and you're gonna be like, "Oh, it's wrong."
Oh yeah, I've heard. Yeah, wow, holding company. How do you operate? Decentralized. Ooh, no bureaucracy. Oh my God. Thank you.
No, it's more. There's more to it. You'll listen. You'll see. Guarantee.
I am not gonna. I am not gonna listen. There's thousands of millions of podcasts and millions of conference calls. I mean, I know too much about Berkshire Hathaway for a company I'm never gonna own. Like I know
No
so
such
much
thing.
about it,
There's no such thing. There's no harm in knowing something about you.
but it's
Know
just
enough about something you want to own.
I kind of realized like, is it just a waste of time for me to study Berkshire too much? Like,
Also, why would you say you'll never own it?
well, I mean, sure, if the price collapsed by half tomorrow, yes, but
I mean, what if the value was still there? People probably said that in 2018, 2019.
yeah, but it's not. Again, I'm I, per, like I know I'm not gonna buy it unless it got stupid cheap.
What's stupid cheap?
One where it way below where they're buying back. So look,
The most discouraging thing for me is that it's like the most followed company.
yeah, I don't. As the I got all the quotes from the Muffet and Munger in my head, as they say, fish where the fish are. I'd rather go somewhere else. I mean, look, like it's just I feel like not worth after you've studied it. It just I'd rather use the lessons from studying Berkshire Hathaway and getting how they were so successful. Whatever. There's probably a dozen key tenets over the years of why they were so successful, and using those lessons to search for those traits in other businesses and studying Berkshire even more while not being a shareholder feels like a waste of time when I could be spending that time studying a different company.
Do you think you would have passed on it in the 90s?
That's the
Everyone
only
just quote
time.
rough it.
No, that's the only time. I know I wouldn't have bought the 70s because of the ownership structure. That's the only time I feel like I would have like looked at it as a potential buy, but I'm sure I would have passed.
I think
No, I mean, no, we own some Berkshire like stuff. So,
yeah, I owned a Berkshire so that I could go to the meeting.
well, no, I'm saying we own Berkshire. We own
Well, yeah, you said you'll
we
never be a
like.
Berkshire shareholder.
I
We went to the
know
meeting.
that's a fake. That's a fake. I have one. That's a fake like thing. I have one B share. That's fake. The uh no the I mean we own like Berkshire like businesses. You know what I mean? The holding companies, the conglomerates. We like those. We like looking at those. So I think yes, I would have gotten interested for sure. I have no idea whether I would have hopped on the train, but definitely in the 70s and early 80s, there's no way I would have been looking at that complicated ownership structure and saying, "What is this? This could easily been a fraud, right?" Or we were talking about that with someone out. You'd look at it, you'd be like, "Wow, like not self dealing." So I mean, some stuff that looked like maybe self dealing. You can't even.
His son's on the board.
Someone was on the board. You'd have been like, "Oof, red flag, red flag, red flag," and yet it was turning into one of the best performing stocks of all time. So
I feel like you could have probably just heard him talk like once and been
yeah,
completely like if you listen to one annual meeting, any gripes you would have had about management, it's like competence or self dealing.
it's a good point. If you went, yeah, going to
Probably
the
would have
annual
been out the
meetings.
window.
If you read the letters and went to the meetings, yeah, that's a good point.
Have you looked at anything recently worth talking about?
Wise just had their annual report. Really, really interested in them.
Transfer was?
X, yeah, used to be TransferWise, now Wise.
I heard
Yeah.
something about the CEO's taxes.
Oh, he's
Did you hear
avoiding them?
Did you hear about? I don't know. I just heard something about this.
Well, avoiding taxes is never good, but as a shareholder, I don't think that's a giant red flag, given that I would like them to avoid taxes for me as a shareholder as well. So
Yeah.
I haven't looked through the whole report, but let me pull up the valuation here. It has really, really strong margins and it's trading at about 5.5 times sales, profitable.
Yeah, here. Last year it came to light that the UK tax authority, HMRC, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, had fined Wise's CEO, Christo Carmen, $365,000 in relation to an outstanding tax bill of $720,000.
Never mind. He was illegally evading taxes. I do not condone that. Legally, finding loopholes, that's fine as a shareholder, but that's not a good look. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think $365,000 is that big of a deal.
No, it's not. Yeah, I thought it was just like one of those, Bezos type ones where he didn't pay any taxes or blah blah blah. You know what I mean? But it was legal.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot to take away from it, but
I mean, we covered Wise. We haven't done. No, we didn't do a deep dive interview. We just covered them on the show. I think basically a year ago. They IPO'd a year ago. Very, very intrigued about these new age, what are they called? Remittance companies. At the time, I think I was just getting caught up in the crypto hype. I was worried about crypto being the big competitive threat for the remittance market.
not a chance.
But after researching that more, yes, I agree. Not a chance, given the fee structure of those. I mean, Wise they seem to have a great head on their shoulders. Their strategy is sound of lowering fees to give themselves a competitive advantage over everyone else. Remittance market has inherent competitive advantages because of the regulatory stuff you have to set up in all the different countries. And I mean, they're not even to the point of Western Union. It's been years and years and years. They're adding on very high quality products. Anecdotal evidence, use the product. Debit card's great. If you basically transfer to the foreign currency within the app, you can use the debit card with no fees. And it's fantastic.
I will say I'm not a fan. I'm actually not a fan of the name change. And I think that might sound stupid, but I think TransferWise, when you're looking, let's say you're trying to be like a new remittance customer or trying to remit money and you're looking for something new, TransferWise might catch my eye a little quicker than Wise, which they're trying to brand essentially as like a neobank.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of Remitly's like traffic is organic.
I don't know how serious you are there, but I mean, their volumes were up 40% last year. So I don't know. I don't think it's a huge concern.
How much was sales and marketing spend up?
I have not checked. I can confirm that for you.
Wow. I think they lost a good, easy, organic funnel to attract potential customers.
Yeah, maybe. They're a UK business, so they got the worst financial statements, or at least they're the most different than SEC filings. So they're just annoying to find all the stuff. I don't even know where sales and marketing would be on here. I see what a comment from Ian. Did you see that? Our only yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm not even gonna repeat that. He says everyone I will repeat it. Says everyone knows ... crypto solves this. I wonder if okay, let's say crypto went and by crypto, I'm just going to use Bitcoin as like a proxy for the whole crypto market. I know some like crypto, anyone that's in the industry probably hates that, but I'm going to use Bitcoin. Let's say it went to, I don't know, $10 for a Bitcoin. And you were a wealth manager or you manage money on someone's behalf and you put money into it. How do you rationalize or how do you explain that
Today,
after the
I
fact?
well, I don't know because I wouldn't do that.
I mean, you can't. Like, there was no like thesis, right?
Well,
Other than everyone else is buying.
yeah. I mean, the thesis is digital gold, which basically means everyone else is going to buy. Yeah, it'd be tougher to defend for sure. It would be tough to defend.
Would you rather own gold or Bitcoin?
Don't. What's the thing from Talladega Nights? Don't you put that evil on me? Gold.
Why?
Although I will never buy both. Gold feels less scammy, although that is saying something.
All right, I have a thought on Uber.
Okay.
I think it might make a decent investment over like the next 2 years.
Okay. All right.
I'm serious. Yeah, and I know they're hemorrhaging cash, but
Pitch it. Pitch it. I'll listen. Pitch.
all right. Uber has drastically increased prices over the last year or so, at least in my experience. I think they have talked about that. By basically consolidating the market to them and Lyft, cabs are essentially becoming Ubers. If I heard it correctly, they've partnered with Uber in New York. They have. Those two have the power to raise prices at will, and demand may fall some, but I think the people that need designated drivers, which I imagine is still a decent chunk of their population, will have to pay.
That's it.
That's my pitch.
I mean, how big is that TAM? Come on. Like,
That's what the business was built on initially.
no. The business was built on letting people drive to work for $4 rides that cost the company $10.
No.
Yes.
It was the black car
Well,
service.
okay, sure. Originally, but I'm saying it got to the size it is today. Like, how that market can't be that big.
I think it's probably pretty large. And there's certain scenarios where you need an Uber or a Lyft, and without taxis, with them being the two participants in the market, essentially
Yeah,
one,
well,
I guess maybe a new player could come along, but
yeah, I mean, I took one last week. I'm not saying I wouldn't use it, but it's a bad business, plain and simple.
I don't know. I see a world in which they could win.
Oh yeah, they're gonna get to 10% adjusted EBITDA margins. It's gonna be so great. Look, here's the two things that concern me with Uber. One, and everyone talks about this.
I'm gonna clip this little sound bite here and play it
Okay.
back in 2030, and we'll see.
Okay, we'll see.
We'll see.
Let's see where the stock is right now. Because if it's in the shitter, maybe I'm less optimistic. Oh, wow. I love how their market cap's still 40 billion. That's funny.
Yeah,
Love that stock base. I love that stock-based compensation. All right, well, yeah. Their valuation one in 2015 was like 60 billion. I mean, that was insane. But okay, here's what concerns me about Uber. And this isn't some novel take. This is what everyone has. If gas prices go up, which is out of their control, labor prices go up because they had to fulfill that for their drivers because they don't pay that to whoever, their labor pool.
Pays it.
What?
Consumer pays it.
I know, but that's like, even if they're able to raise prices because of that, it's not coming down to the bottom line. Two, like their net wages that people are earning on these things are still way, way lower
No.
than a lot of other jobs they can get. So the risk of wage inflation is much, much too high.
I swear every Uber driver I've had lately has bragged to me about how much they're making on Uber.
I know, but that's net, dude. Like, no one's doing math. Their gas prices are through the roof.
I don't think they'd keep doing it if they weren't making the money that they thought they
Okay,
were.
all right. And Uber is what? Uber's what right now? Let me pull up the old. This is uncoined, so not confirmed. Let me pull up the old cash flow table.
Positive operating cash flow over the last 12
Oh my
months.
God. They have generated $181 million in operating cash flow over the last 12 months.
Correct.
Wow. That's amazing.
Up from
free cash flow is negative.
Up from negative 4 billion.
Yes.
2 years ago.
Well, that was pandemic, but yeah. Hey, look, they could fire a lot of people. I guess it could work if they fire a lot of their employees, but I don't think the business.
I think
I
the
don't think the
business
stock.
could run with less employees. I think
Sure.
there's a world in which there's a lot of cost savings that come down the pipe and the business doesn't change. They raise prices and they're fine.
Yeah, but how is the stock going to do well? Like, why is this $100 billion? Why is this a $70 billion bit? Sorry. Why is the stock price at $35 a share 5 to 7 years from now?
Because they generate enough cash to warrant it.
They have never generated positive free cash flow.
Wrong. Oh. All right. I say give it a year.
All right.
I mean, look at the trajectory.
So at the current,
how much they generate in cash? Yeah, that's a question worth having. But there is definitely a path for them to generate positive free cash flow.
look, is this a bankrupt company? No. I have no. I mean, that's out of the. I think that's out of the cards. Thanks for the comment, Alex. He said if I like cash flow, you should check out this company called Berkshire. I hear Bloomstrand just did a pod on them. Thank you. I was a bit harsh with that, but still, I've done learn about, like, again, we don't need to revisit that. That was in jest mainly, but okay, like they're at $40 billion market cap, right? So basically get positive returns, yet eventually think. And I learned this from Buffett. So another joke there. You got to get to a 10% free cash flow yield at some point. So when are they going to get to $4 billion in annual free cash flow?
2026.
You think that's possible?
I'm just throwing out a random number. I think it's possible.
What's their gross profit right now? 7.7 billion? I mean,
can't lie, it's possible. Might not be likely, but it's possible.
It's possible.
Can this business run with half of its employees?
Hard to tell.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. So I probably should have a take.
I mean, look, customer support's pretty high with this too. Yeah, I'm laughing. Yeah. Alex, thank you. That was a great joke. Yes.
Do you know what country has the highest amount of oil reserves in the world?
Oh, it's not going to be Saudi Arabia then. If you're asking me this, it's not Saudi Arabia.
Correct.
Wow. All right. The United States.
No. No way, Jose.
All right. Lay it on me. What is it?
Venezuela.
Oh, wow. And they did quite well with that, right? No. How are they not like?
Yeah, I saw a chart here. I think Saudi Arabia was number 2.
Oh, they gotta be. They got that gigantic oil field. So big. Really, it's Venezuela?
The something that I heard on the Berkshire podcast that Chris did that he talked about,
Mm.
which I found kind of fascinating. I don't know if I've told you about this, but this podcast he did, have I told you? He mentioned if you were running an oil company or an oil and gas production company, let's say, and the and you were printing record profits, and the government was essentially forcing you to be public enemy number one, what would your incentives be? Or they were like basically trying to find every way to like threaten your business as possible. Would you be incentivized to pour a bunch of that profits back into CapEx?
Yeah. Well, let me just repeat what I've heard from other people talking about oil. Isn't everyone spooked from the too much CapEx 5 to 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the government's going to treat you the same no matter what, just because it's a great talking point politically. Yeah, I agree with you, or whatever his point was going to be. Like, I kind of get where his point was going to be, that they're going to keep supply constrained unless they're incentivized. There was an interesting take, I forget who I was listening to, that said, and I don't know how much this would fly, but the US government, or I don't know who, could promise a price floor where you can sell oil for, say, a price floor of 70 over the next 5 years. And that, floor would really help the oil companies know that they're not going to go bankrupt if they, just pump up supply too much.
That's an interesting idea.
But it seems like one of these, again, it seems like a bad business that can go through some times where they're insanely profitable. Because, and look, I don't know Jack, I don't know anything about oil and gas or energy, but what always just makes me nervous is when people say the cure for high prices is high prices. And it seems like that's the case. Well, if that's the case, then how is this industry predictable at all?
Yeah.
Seems
Also,
tough.
what's a high price?
Exactly. I don't know.
I think I might just go long oil.
All
Thing is,
right.
everyone says that whenever like prices get high. So if everyone's saying that, they're all avoiding it. Maybe it's like,
Mm.
I know that's something Nick Seipel said, but until the CapEx shows up, you've essentially got, I guess, well, it goes beyond just the US's CapEx, huh?
Yeah, it's also tough when the biggest producers are in a literal cartel. I mean, that's tough.
Yeah. So according to this list, the US is number 9
9. Wow.
on oil
I thought that would have
reserves.
been higher. What's the top 5?
Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, Canada, Iran, Iraq.
Canada. Nice. It's
Yeah, good for
basically the
them.
US. I'm
You'd say
serious.
that.
I'm serious. Uh, I mean, in this regard, it's basically the US. Like,
Why? Because they pipe a lot of the oil in.
no, just politically,
Oh.
if you get what I mean. Yeah, it's tough look for Europe there. Venezuela. How does Venezuela, like, even the kings have got to look at, or whoever, I guess it's not necessarily a monarchy, but the political elite there have got to look at Saudi Arabia and be like, man, they're really doing, like, how are we not, how is our income inequality not turning us into as rich as them? But that's besides the point. I guess it's
All
tough
right.
that Iran has that huge. It's kind of a tough location, huh?
I can no longer say anything intelligent, or nor did I, about oil. So
All
we'll
right,
move
new
the
topic.
topic to Callaway.
Okay. Why Callaway now?
We went to the Top Golf Lounge, and needless to say, it
I'd
diminished my
say,
foolishness.
what would you give it? I wouldn't give it 2 thumbs down, maybe 1 thumbs down, right?
Yeah, 1 thumbs down, maybe 2 thumbs sideways. Nah, 1 thumb
What
down.
what is 2 thumbs sideways even
It was
mean?
mid. It was mediocre.
Okay.
Overpriced, no doubt. And there was like no one there.
Yeah.
Would you have paid, what was that? What did it come out to? What, $40 an hour per person?
For 3 people, yeah.
Would you have paid that for the typical bay? Like ours was just the lounge that was inside. Would you have paid $40 for yourself in one of their like big outdoor ranges?
Yeah, sure. In a fun group, sure. But I just don't like how you can't use your own clubs or how it's lame to use your own clubs because the clubs are shit.
Well, you go in there with a different mentality than most people.
Well, that lounge thing is like an experimental concept, so I'm glad they're not rolling it out because it was strange.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan.
Yeah, I like Topgolf a lot.
So to
I don't know why. I don't know why. We've discussed it a lot. We've looked at it for the past year. I don't know why it's still in my too hard pile.
What has sat in your, what do you think you've sucked your thumb on the longest? What one company?
That's a weird way to put it, but I understand what you mean.
It's been there. You thought it was just
You probably know it
generate good returns.
You probably know better than me. I mean, Roku maybe? No. That's been expensive. That's been super expensive.
Yeah, I'm talking about something that for a while you thought like, God, this generate good returns.
Let me look at my watch list.
I mean,
I would have said Latch. Good thing I never bought that.
I think eventually I just bit the bullet on everything that's been in there. And now that the prices have come down, it's given me reason to.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff hasn't done well, so on the
Coupon,
watch list.
I suppose.
Coupon, I have been watching for a little over a year. Yeah. Yeah. Coupon, I don't know what I'm missing.
What price would you buy Meta at?
Oh gosh. That's a tough question. I feel like if I actually went through the math, I would say today.
Yeah, you're gonna say a number.
I would go through, I would actually, yeah, I would look at it, I go through the math and be like, oh man, maybe I should buy it today. I mean, man, this looks cheap. I don't know why this isn't on my watch list.
Facebook?
Yeah.
Meta, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, maybe that's the one I've sucked my thumb on for the longest, although I guess in a good, in a good way.
Yeah, to our benefit. Yeah, dang.
It's cheap. Wow.
$60 billion in cash flow. Oh, operating cash flow, obviously. Wow.
They have decent capex. Though.
Dang. Yeah, it's still like 10 times free cash flow.
Yeah,
Man,
I don't think.
Maybe a quick, but the thing is, it's been the value bros have been all over it for.
Oh, I mean, everyone's been over it. I don't think it's just. I don't think the question is any sort of trailing multiples here. It could be at 10, it could be at 15. It's got to just be durability, not even growth, just durability of the cash flow, which is interesting because maybe 3 years ago
free
it was
cash flow or the operating cash flow, because capex, it sounds like it's going to change.
Yeah, but a lot of the reality labs is OpEx, right? Or are you talking about something else? I don't follow the company that closely, so.
I thought a lot of it was in capex too.
No, it would be headcount.
I thought they pledged to like 10 billion or something in reality.
That's total expenses. So not capex. Either way though, it's cost. Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't own this. I'm gonna say this right now. It's hard. Like Instagram is so sticky, even though I think it's a terrible product for society. Disregarding that.
Don't you think also if, let's say, TikTok did get banned in the US, how much do you
Oh,
think? I mean,
Reels
such a
would,
benefit
yeah,
to Instagram.
Reels would get, yeah, it'd be great. But I mean,
Anecdotally,
you can't bet on that. You can't bet on that.
among
That's
my
a
friends though, Reels, and I think they have like a similar Facebook product. Uh, people
well, that can go on.
use it a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the Facebook one can go into the Facebook dating pile of wasted product development. But yeah, Instagram Reels seems to be getting great traction. I don't know though.
That's
I
like
do
such
not
a
know.
great blueprint just to copy everyone else's products for a billion person user base, whatever it is.
Yeah. Instagram, yeah. Gosh, social's so hard, but it might be discounted enough. It's such a hard question for speaking on the stock. Like, I think social media is a tough business, just given, trendiness and stuff like that. But
What
is
social
that
medias in the last 10 years, 15 years, maybe even say, have fallen off or gotten worse in terms of users?
look, I
Like, forget MySpace.
yeah. Well, I mean, Twitter, right? At some points.
I
I'm
mean,
just
it's
looking
still
at
bigger, still substantially bigger. Twitter's sort of, I mean, it's a bigger business than it was, but
I'm gonna put up on Y charts here. Twitter, Meta Platforms, Snap, and Pinterest. We're gonna look at returns over the last 5 years compared to the S&P 500. Want to put your guesses in?
well, the
How
S&P
many of
500 killed it. And
how
Pinterest
many?
IPO'd like 2 years ago or something like that. So it's bad sample size, but
No, are there any other social media stocks? Okay. Is there any?
would you call Match Group social media?
No.
Where would you bucket that? Utilities?
No, it's its own category. All right. The S&P 500 total return was 38.4% in the last 5 years. Or sorry, shit. We got to X out. Fuck. All right. Since Pinterest went public in 2019, it's
Oh, you can't take
38.4%.
2019.
Why not? Why not? Social media got a
Because
benefit.
those were all extremely bid up in 2019, if I remember correctly. Wasn't Snap like towards like 50 times sales? Was that 2020?
No, that was in 2020. Snap was totally in yeah. I mean,
All right, whatever.
pandemic
All right,
was a benefit to them. All four of these stocks underperformed.
Yeah, that's not.
I think it's a tough business,
But here's the
regardless
thing.
of users.
Facebook's take whatever profit metric you want, free cash flow, operating profit,
Sure.
has
That's a
overperformed.
good
It
point.
might just be sentiment around social medias. Now, Twitter, I know, has been whatever bad, but I'd be surprised.
Twitter is I'm a fan of the Seattle Mariners, and Twitter is like the Seattle Mariners. You get optimistic every year, and they fail you.
Yeah, that's about right. Every year, their new revenue strategy could change the game.
That's right. There's a new prospect coming up.
Do you think, honestly, if Elon Musk is CEO or running the company, do you think there's any way that he actually drives a different revenue stream?
No way. He's not even gonna. Dude, the guy just flies around in his private jet. Like, he has no time for this.
Where's he been, by the way? MIA.
He has been off. Any speculative theories here as we wrap up? Why he's off?
Yeah,
It's probably Okay,
I have one.
let's hear.
He's going to come back, and there's going to be a story that he went to the factory for 20 days and slept in the office room and had no time for social media because he was like
Working so hard
grinding so hard.
at the Gigafactory. Yeah, remember that video
planning
where
out he's had this tweet in his drafts for 20 days waiting to like explain how
Yeah.
hard he's been working.
remember that video they had with one of the morning shows once where he he was like, yeah, I've been living at the factory, and it was like one of those it was like the Michael Scott moment from the little bench thing that he's like, yeah, I just curl up here, and he had that little couch. He's like, yeah, I just curl up here. I'm like, dude, people can track your private jet. Like, you live in a private jet. You have like 2 of them. Why, if you count your brothers? I mean, no, who is buying this stuff? Whatever.
Lot.
But yeah, that
Lot
makes
of people.
sense. I think that you could be right there.
Or he's in legal trouble, but I don't know. Something would have come out by now.
Yeah, definitely. And I
Or
mean, it's like,
he's like just in ultimate like regret mode on the Twitter deal.
so you can't face the app.
Yeah, so he's like rebelling, like a self-protest.
Yeah. I wonder if they give him a special app. He has 100 million followers, you know. That'd be you can't let that thing crash. You know what I mean? Like, does he still get we barely get any notifications on Twitter. I had to turn them off. Like, does he have like a little bell thing that has the little numbers?
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I never understood it.
His whole thing probably just says 1 million plus forever. Like, I mean, it's just totally useless for him.
Yeah. All right. I think we got to sign off here.
Yep, that's an hour.
All right. If you listened on the podcast, we do these on Thursdays at 12 o'clock Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern time on YouTube. So if you just YouTube Chit Chat Money, you can find
What day of the week too?
Thursdays. Typically, right?
Yes, you know.
I know we've moved it around, but you like gave me a confused face.
Well, you didn't say Thursday,
so feel free to get the questions in there if you want to ask us anything like that, or if you want to reach out to us. We're on Twitter. We respond to any DMs. The DMs are open on the Chit Chat Money account, and we have an email, chitchatmoneypodcast@gmail.com, and we'll respond to anything there. So feel free to reach out. I should give a disclosure on this. Brett and I are not financial advisors. Anything we say or discuss here on Chit Chat Money is not formal advice or recommendation. We are, however, general partners at Arch Capital, so clients may have positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. Thank you all for watching or listening. We'll see you next time.